On the public comments, does anybody in the public wish to address the board this morning? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to item 3, discussion, a tour of the district facilities. And at this time, we're going to turn the meeting over to the General Manager, Steve Perez, and the board is going to join you in the audience so that when he's talking to us, he's not got his back to you, and when he's talking to you, he doesn't have his back to us, okay?
I'd say one thing before I go down there. I really appreciated hearing the pledge with a little bit different voices this morning. I was used to saying the pledge. I deliberately said the pledge every day in my first grade class, where we were supposed to, but a lot of them didn't. And one of the things that you hear Steve is actually saying the pledge the way it's punctuated. You're not supposed to pause where we all pause, but that's the way everybody does it. But Steve wants to be sure he's doing it the way it's punctuated. But thank you for being here, kids and mom.
I didn't always punctuate the Pledge of Allegiance, but I consider myself a patriot, a person of the Constitution, and it's one of those small things that I can do that makes me feel like I'm doing something right, and that's why I do it. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the students and the young ones. Thank you for being here. I think it'll be something that they will enjoy as well as the adults. What we're going to do today is we're going to begin here at the administrative buildings. We'll walk down the hall to the back part of the offices where most of the staff is located, and basically out to the back. We'll begin with the solar arrays that are being installed on site that will mitigate the entire load of the administrative building and the shop. And it is scheduled to go online, would have been scheduled tomorrow had Edison given more lead time. We had 3 days lead time to cut over this array and get the administrative building on. But we have too much data and shutdown of our data to ensure we can't easily cut over to temporary power because of the way that the electrical hookups in the MCC panels are hooked up now. We may be able to do that, but it's going to take some looking at our systems in order to do it, to accomplish that. Welcome. And I'd like to introduce our 2nd District Supervisor, Zach Scribner, for those that don't know. Zach. What we have attempted to do at the administrative site, as well as all other sites that are belong to the RCSD, is begin our power savings. And when I arrived, I took a look at not only the facilities' power needs and power usage, but that of the street lights at the same time. Having been a representative representing LED lighting manufacturers at one time, the big focus was street lights. So trying to look at the street lights initially when I got here and found out that Edison had changed the tariff on street lights, which made it almost impossible to go out and put LEDs on your street lighting to reduce power costs because the tariff was higher. There was no incentive whatsoever. But we did accomplish that in the facility. So our lights that you see here are LED lights. The lights in the office, the lights in the shop in the back, you'll see that they're all LED. And the parking lot lights that are out here are all LED, and they're saving approximately 60 to 62% of our power cost. The other move that we made was to look at solar to mitigate the power cost on a larger scale. And we had first embarked on aggregating all the power used, or pulling all the power used in the district and locating a solar field at the wastewater plant to address that load. When we got to where we were going to do the interconnects and the like with Edison, they said, time out, we don't have the capacity, we can't accept any of the power. Even though we were going to be using probably 95% of the power that we were generating, which is referred to as being parasitic. So you use it yourself, they said they couldn't even handle the 5%. So we were forced to abandon almost a year and a half negotiations and contracts and opt to what's known as a net metering. That's why you're seeing 3 different sites today that have solar on them, and not just one site taking care of all of our needs. The interesting thing on the solar was when I instructed the solar companies that proposed, I instructed them that I wanted a project that had no out-of-pocket cost to the district and produced an immediate savings. So we didn't have to wait to get a savings, and we didn't have to take any money out of our pocket. So what you're seeing today in solar is at no cost to us, except for the negotiated costs, the attorney costs, the things like that, but no infrastructure cost for the solar, and it's going to produce a savings for us when it comes online. And that is a true savings for the district, for the ratepayers, etc. It'll start cutting down our cost and power right away. So, in addition to that, on the tour, I have John Houghton, who's going to be our technical advisor while we go through the tour. I have information also, and I'll impart that when we stand in front of the solar array so you have an idea of what they're putting out. And John will lead us through his shop area and tell you what they do on a daily basis, how many employees he has to do the functions that the operations has to take on, not only on a daily, weekly, but monthly and annually. And it's a normal course. We're lucky today, actually, I believe it's luck that we have tank 3 that is open, and we'll be able to look in on an annual basis. John will explain. We rotate our tanks and clean those tanks out. You can imagine what they would look like if we don't clean them and keep them up to snuff. So, with that said, if there's any questions off of that, I'd be happy to try to answer. And if not, if we can, we'll walk down this hallway and out the back door, and we'll walk over into the area of the solar array, but I want to stay back if they're still working on that right now somewhat, and we can look at it from a distance, but I'll explain the size and what we expect it to do when we get out there. So, if you follow me, what you see over here is bulky waste, white goods, computers. Those are picked up on a regular basis, so if you have those, the community has them, they can bring them here. The high school wanted that because there is a residual payment paid that they would receive for that, and we agreed to allow them to do it, but because people were coming on site and stuff, their superintendent opted not to do it, and we brought it back here. So it's back here, so if anybody knows people that need to drop off anything, they can bring it here. Also,
is there any charge, Steve, to drop them off?
No, just bring it in for free. And when they show up, they can just tell us they're here to drop bulky waste. They'll open the gate and they can drop it. Also, document shredding. This is a locked bin. You can throw your documents in here they'll be picked up and they'll be shredded. So if you have any secure documents you need to get rid of, we have that also. Behind me is the solar array. This is a tracking array. Basically, it's one that will follow the sun, and you can see that they're still tying in the electric and the like. They've got the underground, I believe, tied in, but not the wires cut over as of yet. But they're proceeding pretty well, and hopefully by the end of the month, by the 30th, we'll have the tie-in complete. Actually, this should take care of most of our power costs and all of our power costs and produce a savings.
Wow, so net zero.
Right. Immediate, I believe we're currently paying here 13 cents. So the immediate is going to be 11.5. So the difference between the 11.5 and the 13 cents a kilowatt hour.
Do you have a capacity amount on your these panels?
I'm sorry?
Capacity amount, kilowatts.
This array is 62.34 kilowatt hours or kilowatts per day. So, if we'll move this direction, John, where do you want to enter your shop
We'll
at?
just enter right there at the front door.
Okay.
Right here, and off to the right hand, or off to your left hand side from my office here. This office back here in the back is our skater room. This is where we control all of our pumps and our tank levels. We can move water from the west side of town to the east side of town. Everything's automated, so we set points. The pumps come on, fill the tanks, shut off when they're high. When they get low, they fire back up. You guys want to come in? I can't have everybody come in, but we can one by one. I can show you. We can fill it.
I know what you were saying.
We have
What you're seeing.
we go up there, check level, operate that tank right now. We have roughly 6.5 million gallons of storage. We don't, in the summertime we fill tank 5 and use it as a backup. But during the wintertime it's mothballed.
Okay, and then tank 3, when you fill it, and I guess when you fill up the one at tank 5, you have it set up to fill at night because that's the cheapest electricity? Or?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
You're on the time of use, right?
Yeah, because we get hit by Edison hard, because there's 3 booster pumps that fill that tank to tank 5.
Yeah.
12 to 6 is your highest rate.
Exactly.
And it's high.
Exactly.
No noon.
Yeah, we're going to do some mapping and planning. The screen that you see here on the left is our GIS system, which is Geographic Information Systems. With that, we can keep track of every water line, valve, hydrant, sewer line, manhole, every asset we have in the district, including tanks and wells, and that has the ability to store all the features for all of those items, whether it's line depths, hydrant flows, hydrant pressures, tank sizes, well pumping records, all of that is all stored in one system. That's very useful for state reports, any new construction. We don't have to go get that information in the field, it's already on the computer. The screen on the right is our inventory. All of our inventory is managed with our work orders. As work orders are turned in, the items that are used and the man hours that are used are automatically built into that system. At the end of each week, month, year, we can print out a report of how many man hours were used, what items were used, and the total cost for repairs.
Explain just a bit for their benefit, the comments in the audit in regard to inventory and what we did or what we weren't doing, but what we are now doing.
So prior to July of last year, everything was just on paper. We didn't have an automated system for inventory. So if we had a log of it, we would take it out. Other than that, we had to estimate parts that were used each year and estimate the expense for all of our repairs or new construction. Now we have a way to log that, and we can actually backdate anything we've used. We can put those records in and schedule maintenance, schedule repairs through that system.
One of the big things in the district in regard to all of our assets is preventative maintenance. if we can manage our assets in a manner that each one has a life expectancy, and if we're properly maintaining those, we can anticipate what and when we need to start looking at a potential breakage. And if that potential breakage is within a time frame, we may start wanting to budget towards that for repair, replacement, upgrade, whatever the case may be, to prevent a catastrophic failure. Because if we have one of those, then we have generally overtime, we have a rush to buy a part at not a good price, but in an emergency, we may have to borrow money if it's a big item. So what we try to do is manage that to prevent those types of things from happening. Keep the cost down on borrowed money, on interest and issues of that nature, to maximize the use of our revenues that we have in the district.
You know, one of the things you could do with your CSDA is come up with a buying system for all the districts to buy from you at a cheaper rate. If you were buying for all the districts throughout California, and then we could buy from you, it would be a cost savings to all the smaller districts.
As the president of the California State Association of Counties, we put together a buying system, and it's California Communities that has that. And what we did at that time also was we passed or sponsored legislation that would allow the piggybacking of any contract. For instance, if you had gone through all the process to obtain a contract with, say, Home Depot for items, we could come in later and piggyback on your contract and your pricing. So that was an item that we had also and anticipated and thought was a good idea. Basically, exactly what you're talking about. CSDA does the piggybacking. We do piggybacking all the time for contracts with various agencies, but that type of program is pretty widespread today for that sharing and cost savings.
Okay. The other question I have, do you still exercise the valves on a regular basis?
Yeah.
Annually.
Annually?
Yep.
Okay.
If you want to go out this door here, we can show you the shop area and some of the inventory that we have.
Want to go this way or?
To the left.
Yeah. Take it apart right here.
This is a truck you love, right?
This is the best investment this place has ever bought.
That's why I said that's the truck you love.
Yeah.
Sweet Sue, is that her name?
Right there. She's a little dirty right now. She's been work, but
You had a lot of rain lately, so you can trap a lot of mud in.
here's all of our valves and stuff that we keep in stock. We deal with water leaks on a daily basis. We have all of our copper stuff. We usually keep enough inventory in here to fix just about anything in the district that we have in the ground.
Yeah, sure.
Our vacuum truck here is not only a sewer cleaning truck, but we use it for excavating on all of our water lines because there's so many utilities in the ground. When we start digging with a backhoe, it's real easy to hook onto a gas line or electric line. With this piece of equipment, we just suck the dirt around it and don't disturb any of the lines in the ground. We use this truck almost daily.
You have to have special license to drive. Chauffeur
You have to have a commercial driver's license, yes. And all of our, well, 3 of our operators have the commercial license to drive, including myself. And Brock, who no longer is in the public works, but he also has a CDL. Over here we have our mechanics area where we work on our vehicles. If it's brakes or low maintenance stuff that we can handle. Rob does, yeah. There's Rob. Yeah. That's about it as far as what goes on in here.
They're producing what, also what 2 lamps would have produced on the other side.
You're an expert on that. We took a change from the church. They had 65 watt recessed lighting. We went to 17 watts, and they're brighter than the 65s. That's right.
And what percentage savings did they say?
It's got 60.
That's about right.
Edison's not gonna like that.
I know, I hear they're even gonna start charging people to get solar.
I think when you make that comment, you ask, well, why would Edison, who's under a mandate for a percentage, I think it's 30% green power by a certain year, increase the tariff on an LED light bulb? Well, if you look at all the municipalities across California, for instance, or within their district, and they lost 60% of their power consumption and their cost, it would be a big hit, where they could make up a lot of their inventory on major solar and wind projects. So that's kind of the disincentive, if you will, and the reason they're a stockholder company, so they're looking at their bottom line at the same time. Sure.
So this is a 2 million gallon storage tank. This is one of our storage tanks. We have capacity for 6.5 million gallons storage. Right now we're doing cleaning and inspection of this tank. We are obligated by, we're mandated by the Department of Health to pull these down every 5 years and clean and repair anything that's done, no wrong inside. So just telling the board members that this tank, on its next cycle in the next 5 years, we'll be coming to them to ask to have this one relined inside because it's getting pretty bad. We've done a lot of repairs in it over the years, and it's never been relined since it was new. If you look inside, it doesn't really look that bad, but it will need some attention so it lasts for many more years. Behind you is this booster station right here. This booster station, this is what takes the water from here to phase 5 on Dollar Road. That's how we store the water up there also. This part of this one right here feeds from 30th Street all the way west to 60th Street, all the way to Gas Phase 2, which is the next here, but it's up behind Houghton. It feeds all the way to yeah. Tank 1 takes care of Glendale Park, all that area, all the way down to the road. Tank 4, that is Houghton. They're all tied together.
Right now with that bond issue, when the bonds were sold, and then there was a default, and now they matured, the district could have stepped back and said, we don't want anything to do with that, because we have no financial obligation to the bonds. But the district would suffer a tremendous hit on their credit rating if we didn't try to help get revenues back to the bondholders in that whole default. So that's the workout that's going on right now, that I'm right in the middle of. And trying to get as much money back towards bondholders as we can. Then we can get that off our books, or we can get rid of it and not suffer a hit if I have to go to the San Francisco rating for the district. And they will ask us. In fact, if Zach went, they would ask him, what happened to Rosamond? What have you done to help Rosamond? And Zach can say, we have assisted them with all the resources possible to help them through the tax collector, etc. And they have worked it out. Because his credit rating can be impacted by these bonds, as well as, more specifically, the district. That's the importance of having to work it out.
So who owns that land? I thought one time he sold all the tax auction.
All of the land up there?
Not the bond, but the tax. Right, Terry?
There were
$75,000 somebody bought it?
There were a lot of sales that occurred over the years on the tax default and the like, but they're still outstanding to the bondholders.
$1 million. Yeah, it was 1.7.
Some of them are millions. Yeah.
It was 1.7 about 8 years ago.
efficient for that water, like a shock absorber.
So certain part of it in the top down there.
Yes, absolutely. It's a quarter of it's that area.
How's the way now?
This right here, yeah, this is a, well, we have 5 tanks, 4 of them actinic paint, all of it's epoxy, and 1 of them is carbide. Yeah, it's sprayed on like
Goes to the treatment plant where we treat it, clean it, where we can use it out in there when we get permitted, once we get permitted. The rest of it, the balance goes out on the ponds out here and evaporates off. So our hope is in the future that we can take all that 1.2 million gallons, treat it, and then send it out into our community and utilize it, rather than using our groundwater and using up our groundwater. So I'll give you a tour of the plant. If you got any questions, you ask me and I'll answer the best I can.
And the lines you use to for treatment water has to be a different line.
Yeah, it's a purple pipe.
Can't be so close to the water line, it has to be so many.
Correct. Right, there's a minimum distance, maximum distance.
4 foot separation?
I believe so.
Yeah, as in Idaho, they have separate lines that they pull theirs out of the canal for irrigation,
Right.
lawns and stuff.
Before I get started on the tour, when you came in, you saw the ponds out here. These are the settling ponds, and the plant is on this side. He'll probably go into more detail, but the plant is actually half the size of, it was built to be expanded to another plant equal to the size of treatment that this one is. A good thing that happened during the, when Mike and Ryan were working with the bioscientists to qualify the plant was that they were running it so efficient that they upgraded that capacity that we could treat from 500,000 gallons a day to 750 gallons, 1,000 gallons a day.
Through our UV system.
Right. So,
I have a question.
to the point, in just a moment. We got a big bang for our buck based on, largely on how our operators operate the plant, which is a big positive.
It is amazing, Chris, I know we'll get to it later, but the waste that Ben takes off, it's not very much, is it? It's really amazing.
The rags and the plastics and stuff like that, it's very minimal in the grip. Yeah.
Do you use the UV lights as the final treatment?
Yes, we do. We use chlorine just for algae control in our plant. We don't use chlorine for disinfection. The UV inactivates all your viruses and your
Yeah, we went to a plant up in St. George years ago, and they were the ones that were just starting to use the UV. And one of the things that they they told us as we were there was a trench that was open and the lights were buried in the trench and the water was flowing past it.
Right.
And he said that this was drinking water, and it was going into a nearby stream, and it was going into the stream cleaner than what was in the stream.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. We have to meet better standards than what's out there in nature right now. Track of our flows and stuff like that.
Is it also SCADA or?
This is our SCADA system there. So we got other control points out there that report back here, and then we can see what's going on out there. So we got different screens and all that we can see all our different areas in the plant. What's going on out there at the time.
Everything going on there we can see right now?
This is a UV system right now. I have the lights off right now.
UV helps kill bacteria? And you don't need it this time of year?
It's very expensive to run.
Yeah.
And since we're not going off site with it, we don't run it all the time. And it goes through a screening process here.
The contractor put it in there, so they had to do some
When I was a kid, though, yes, sir. Yes. If you look at that orange that was out there, there's a little blue round thing at the end of there. It's a sonic thing, and it takes and hits the water level, and it tries to maintain that level. But you know, there's times when things go wrong out there, and the water level comes up, and that's why you see different levels. For our pumps, this thing here in the early '90s, this thing was the first. This is the first part of it that was built early '90s, and it's just to pump all the pumps and stuff that just pump it out with bond.
We're trying to make the fine high enough to where it didn't make monetary sense.
He gets to make the point.
So I'm not sure. We'll bring that back.
Yeah, that is good, man. All right, this is our grit removal. Flow comes in from that channel here, comes up in here, and there's a stirrer here that keeps it going and going. And what it does is throws the heavies out to the sidewall. They fall down the sidewall, collect at the bottom every 4 hours. This system down here turns on, it pumps it down and into this grit separator. It's got a screw there, and what it does, it dewaters it as it comes out, and then the grit, anything inorganic, goes into that waste bin there, bins it off.
So what is this again? Stay here. It's a kind of pump.
Did you hold it up with a regular roll-off then, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Every 4 hours. Get him.
The tubes are, it's a tube that goes out there, and at the bottom there's aerators, and it puts air in there, and they swing back and forth to keep everything aerated. You know, if you keep everything breathing, it can do its work, and you get everything healthy out there, and it reduces the biomass out there. Material out in here, and then the clear water comes over the top. The heavier material goes to the bottom.
Down, yeah, settle. And how often so you just turn it and move it that way? Yep. Then you go
all the material pump down, part of it goes back in there again, part of it is out on our drying beds out here. Y'all can see inside the middle there, it's all brown. It's the same. That's what's coming out of that base. It's coming out in the middle there, and then it goes down in here, and that's what if we do our job right, it all settles out in this basin here. And then we collect the clear water, and so we can go through filtration and everything here. That pulls all the grease and the scum and anything else on top that might have to get in here, and it dumps it over here so it can get bumped out and get out of here. This is what? Here. If we want to utilize the water, that's what we're trying to do, is capture as much water we can to utilize out the system when we get permit. So what? This one here is this one right here does it returns the waste that collects at the bottom. It returns it back into the basin to go there and keep the bacteria, the good bacteria in there, and help reduce everything. If you have enough of it and a good microorganism population, it'll settle real good, and that's what we're trying to do, is settle real good, get the clear water off of there so that we can utilize it.
Do you add microorganisms?
No.
Okay, so you just use
we have enough in ourselves that it's an upflow, continuous, backwash sand filter. What it does is the sand sits on top, the water comes up through the bottom, and then this airlift lifts it and goes down through, cleans the water, it rejects, and the other part comes, the clean water comes out and it goes down through.
That's the next point where you show
That's where we show we're already clean. Over here, we'll show how clean it looks.
I missed a little. This is the clean water right here.
This is after it's been in that basin over there. It comes all the way to here. And this is our final product here.
How long does it take that water to get to this point?
Technically a day.
And how many gallons are running through here at this time?
Right now there is 269 gallons a minute going through there.
Wow.
You got 350 going into it, 269 coming out. There's backwash water that's why we don't get the full 350 gallons a minute.
Why is that? That's yellow? Because I think that's the iron in the water that discolors and stays on there.
And where does this water go?
It just goes out here to the pond right now.
That pond. One of the birds are in it.
It goes up and down.
And what's this little gadget for here?
This is a sonic, and it tells me how far from the bottom of that to the water level there is.
Oh.
And there's a formula that this computer does, and every millimeter or a half inch or whatever, quarter of an inch, whatever they look at, and it tells you how many gallons it's going through there. This thing is built, this whole flume is built with that in mind.
It's like a mag meter, isn't it?
Similar? It's a meter. It does the same thing as a mag meter.
Drink?
You got the lift station.
It killed me.
You got the screen.
We didn't mind because I know it's not amusement.
Removal.
Use amusement.
You got the aeration basin.
This one right now is
clarification.
disinfected to a point where
You got filtration.
Right.
But
Your body is get diarrhea. That's the problem. Your body's not used to it.
because
You got about 8 steps.
the standard and the quality of this water is higher than what's pumping out of the ground.
I think this
So it's a better quality.
Right there.
It's just
we know they have it.
you have to do it gradually.
That we can do that on. When we had water and it was beautiful out here, this it looked like a huge lake out here. But right now with the drought, there's no water available to put into storage, so it's just
Now,
dormant.
all this rain that we just had, you collected it here, and it went down into the ground too. Right?
Yeah, but we don't take credit for that.
Well, you can, that's not your water.
Yeah. But
Watch the snakes!
Excuse me, this doesn't look like a reservoir.
yeah, well, it's empty right now. It's dry. California's in a drought right now, so there's no water that we can buy to put into these reservoirs. But normally these reservoirs are completely full of water, and like I said, we run anywhere from 20 to 30,000 gallons a minute out here onto the ponds. There's a 54-inch pipeline that runs down Gaskell Street here to 140. That's where AVAC brings the water in, and this is all fed by a 54-inch line. But, it's big enough for us to walk in. Yeah.
There was a big pipe that was put in right behind West Park.
Yes.
Okay, and it came down this way. Did it come here?
It actually goes to 100. I don't know if you looked off to your left when you were coming in at 140th. There's a huge water tank there.
Okay.
That's where it originates.
That's where.
And that's called the SNP line. And AVAC owns that SNP line. The water bank here owns half of the water line from 140th Street to 80th Street. We helped build that. Now from here we have a 2-mile section that goes from Gaskell and 140th Street to 140th and B that needs to be built, and then both these banks will be tied in together, and we can move water not only here in the valley of the Antelope Valley, but we can also send water back to the aqueduct.
Caitlin, no.
Is that another
Doubler?
Yeah.
Yep. There's 6 of them on this portion right here.
There's so much.
And then we'll go down here a little bit. There's another another set of basins like this. You can see the third one right now. The extraction zone that we can actually pull water from the county is set up in the EIR, goes all the way to 125th Street. So this is the water bank. Like I said, it's not much to see right now because of the drought.
Small portion, right?
We own 6% of the water bank. Yeah.
Out of 1,800 acres. Or
Out of
only in the water bank.
Out of the water bank itself.
Not the land.
You're talking water in the water bank?
The water, no. Water, the water bank is made up by 3 partners. Ourselves, CIM Group, and Semi-Tropic. And out of 3, we own 6% of it.
Water banking means the water will be stored inside.
Yes.
How about the real estate part of it?
The real estate, no.
So we don't own nothing.
Do we lease the land from them or what?
No, we just, I'd have to get exactly, we don't own any of the real estate. We own
just only water rights.
6% of the actual water bank itself.
Okay. So we're not here to buy real estate.
It'd be nice if we were, but I don't know. Who actually holds title on this property?
CIM.
And that's semi-property.
No, I believe it's all
And
CIM.
what does CIM stand for?
CIM is an investment group.
Okay.
And we don't pay rent to them. The partnership doesn't pay rent to them to use their land. Is the land considered an asset of the partnership?
Yes.
That might work. Okay.
So that at this point in time, there will be no building on any of this?
No. They could put solar panels.
They could put solar panels on this?
Yeah. Well, at least the stuff over there, they've already got that. That's what they told us.
Yeah. Well, the water bank owns that land right there. The solar plant's sitting on right there.
Yeah, all from MD, so it's all.
Yeah. So what we can do.
Interesting things about the SNP line, it is connected into the Rosamond treatment plant, and it's usable on that level. It goes south, but it isn't connected into the other treatment plant.
Oh, really?
Unbeknownst to you and unbeknownst to me until recently.
So they can't even use it then, huh?
Well, they're
Lancaster Palmdale.
They're planning on getting that connected.
Connecting.
Yeah.
The whole intention is to tie the 2 plants together.
Yeah.
So they have redundant.
But there's a short section there that's not completed yet.
Tie the 2 plants together plus the water bank. Their water bank, and we could tie our water bank to their SNP line, so we'll be able to.
See, in the water that we had in our bank here, we needed to prove the fact that we could get that water out. If we were looking at the drought and something unforeseen occurred, we wanted to make sure we could get that. Our partners, CIM, are required to provide a method to get that water to us. So what we did is proved it with 100 acre feet. We ended up pumping 100 acre feet to the plant from here and to prove that we could get our water out of the bank. And that was a big thing because if you have it and you can't get it, it's not worth it.
How big is the SNP line?
I think it's 54 inch also.
54 inch line?
Yeah.
All the way? Okay. That's the same
It's
size.
either 54 and then bottled next to 48, but it's, I believe it's 54 when it runs right there in front of our shop.
And how many, is that could be enough to handle both Palmdale, Lancaster, and Rosamond if there was a severe drought, or do we need another one eventually?
If there's a severe drought, it'll be empty.
No, if you start pumping on the ground, you want to pump it all into town.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for us to fill utilize 100% capacity of that line.
Yeah, okay. That's why I say it'll be years, and they build, when it gets all built out, maybe we'll have to upgrade, but right now 54 inch would feed definitely.
Well, with Lancaster, Palmdale, and Rosamond.
The water bank, and maybe any plans that you can divulge, future plans?
Yeah, well actually we don't have any secrets. So you're looking at, this is a 1/4 mile square in front of us, and then there's one more 1/4 mile square, a quarter section to the north. Those are the 2 developed portions of the bank. These are percolation ponds. It doesn't look like much right now because there's no water in it. But when we get water in it, it'll be much more impressive. Yeah.
Anybody else? We brought a case.
So
Thank you very much.
we have, that's 320 acres of percolation land right now. We actually have about 1,000 acres in total. So if we get to the point where we've got more water than these sets of basins can handle, we'll extend the bank over that way where we own more land. We own the adjacent piece here, 80 acres, and then we...
And this is the best place for the water to recirculate, right, coming down, so the water comes down up the hill in the pass, so that's a good thing.
Well, the water comes in, see those aqua-colored structures above the ground? That's where it comes in at.
I mean, the natural flow.
We don't really get much natural flow.
Not down at the swale there?
If it does come through, yeah, you're correct, it'll come through there. But unless it's a really wet period, we just don't expect to get much help from nature on the water bank. But we own actually about 800 acres to the south of us here. Most of that has been leased out though to SunPower for their solar farm. We didn't need it. It turns out this stuff, the soil here is so porous that we can get everything we need in about 1,000 acres. So you couldn't ask for a better site. This is just, it's almost like you're putting water into gravel.
So this is the guy that runs the place out here?
Yeah, he actually turns the valves and actually is the one who knows what's going on.
Does he have a computer too?
I don't know. You know, this is pretty low-tech stuff now.
Okay.
All you do is just turn valves. And you see there's kind of a staff over there sitting in the pond. It's just a staff with inches on it, and that's how we gauge how much water to put in the pond. We just measure it. About the only time we'd have a problem is if there was something unexpected happened and we started to spill. But even then, there's an electronic spill detector in the last pond, and so that'll tell John and his crews to get out here and fix whatever went wrong. Other than that, it's pretty simple and low-tech stuff.
What if the fire wasn't under control?
I think I'm going to take another pan around.
Okay, well we got a pretty good explanation, and we're all set up with using the AVEX NIP line because we're half owners of it, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, you aren't. We are.
Do we have a piece of that or not?
You have 6%.
Okay, so we're owners of it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, a little bit, but.
Well, we have a right to complain then. Is that right?
You have a right to complain anytime you want.
Okay.
I complain all the time, huh?
No, this arrangement, from our perspective, worked out really well because Rosamond had some staff that were located close by, and they're out here. And so if anything goes wrong in the middle of the night, instead of wanting us with the water bank getting called, John gets the call, and typically, as often as not, he'll handle it and tell us about it later.
And Rosamond has the ability to exercise options to increase our position in the partnership.
Yeah, if you want to buy more into it, we'd love to sell you some more shares.
Okay, and that's well, obviously from the point of developers coming on board, that's the way we do it. But they need to have the water, and we can provide it to them if we come to the water bank, right?
Yeah. Well, you've actually got quite a bit of ownership in the bank. You're the largest single owner of shares right now. And what you do with them, there's lots of flexibility. The one thing I can say about storage in California is it's like gold right now. If you've got storage, it's valuable.
I asked him a little bit earlier about this. Groundwater levels at 300 feet. How much can we store up to?
Within 20 feet of the surface.
20 feet below ground surface, yeah. That was a negotiated number with Kern County.
I mean, I guess that's the legal number, but practically, will the water table return to 20 feet above there if we had enough water put in?
So, how many hours has it been, Mommy?
As strange as that sounds.
It hasn't settled in where it's been tamped down, if you will.
Well, it won't stay that high very long. It'll start to push away from it over time. But that's actually the constraint we use for the groundwater model. We have a hydrologic model of the whole groundwater basin in this area, and we mimic how much the water table will raise when we put a lot of water in, and how much it'll come down when we pull a lot of water out. The 20 feet was a negotiated number. it turns out that's actually what controls the capacity of this bank, is that 20 feet.
And the soils will handle it. They're not going to get oversaturated. They're not going to.
No, not.
You won't run the risk of having you drove a heavy truck across it, of compacting it down so they wouldn't work anywhere.
Yeah, actually, we are very careful about what you just said. We don't want big, heavy equipment out here.
We do not want compaction.
Because then we have to come back in and rip it.
Compaction would be our enemy, because then it would slow the production down as far as percolation. So yeah, there's no vehicles or anything out on them ponds, because if you start packing it down, then obviously you're going to lose your percolation rate.
And it's really good. I mean, most other water banks would kill to get the kind of percolation that's out here. It's all a matter of soils.
We will from time to time, and it's probably due on some of these. We'll go in and clear them and rip the bottoms to increase that percolation.
Now, if we want to, as partners, do we have an obligation, if we did want to develop a water bank closer to our town there, would you need to come in there with us, or would you?
You know, we could, but I'm not sure there's much point to it, because there's enough capacity here, and with the adjudication, it doesn't matter where you pump from. So you could put your water in here and take it out over by Edwards Air Force Base if you want to.
Well, we have a need to store water, maybe perhaps from our
Oh, the recycle plant?
Recycle plant.
There's some restrictions on that.
Yeah, that you can't put in here. If you start putting recycled water into the ground, then
if we get a little hot and straighten out, we're able to do that.
You would probably want to build your own percolation ponds, because we'd have to completely re-permit this facility.
Well, I wasn't playing around here.